Hello everyone, welcome back. In our previous lecture, we learned what artificial intelligence or AI is. We also explored how AI has become a part of our daily lives. Whether it's Google Maps, finding the fastest route, Netflix recommending movies, or ChatGPT answering our questions, AI is everywhere. But have you ever wondered where did all this actually begin? Did AI start with ChatGPT? Did Google invent AI? Or is AI much older than we think? The answer is AI is much older than most people imagine. Its journey began about 75 years ago with one simple question. Yes, with one simple question. Not a robot, not a powerful computer, not even the internet. Just one simple question. The question is, can machines think? Yes, this is the question. Can machines think? That single question changed the future of technology. Today we will travel back in time and discover how that one question slowly grew into one of the most exciting fields in computer science. Please remember, you don't have to remember every date. Instead, try to understand how each event helped AI become what it is today. So let's get started. So let's start with Alan Turing's big question. One story begins in the year 1950. Let's imagine the world at that time. There were no smartphones, no internet, no Google, no YouTube, no social media. Computers were completely different from the ones we use today. There were huge machines that filled entire rooms. They were very expensive. They used a lot of electricity, and compared to today's computers, they were extremely slow. People mainly used computers to perform mathematical calculations. If a computer solved a difficult question quickly, people were impressed. But almost nobody believed that a computer could understand human language, recognize faces, play chess, or write stories. These ideas sounded impossible. But one scientist looked at computers differently. His name was Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a British mathematician and computer scientist. Today, he is widely regarded as one of the pioneers of artificial intelligence and one of the founders of modern computer science. Instead of asking how we can build faster computers, he asked a much bigger question. Can machines think? Yes, this is the question. He asked, can machines think? Today, this may sound a normal question, right? But in 1950, it was a completely new way of thinking. Now, let's move on. The paper that inspired artificial intelligence. In the same year 1950, Alan Turing published a famous research paper called Computing Machinery and Intelligence. In this paper, he did not claim that machines were already intelligent. Instead, he asked the people to imagine a future where machines could perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. For example, could a machine solve problems? Could it understand language? Could it learn from experience? Could it communicate with people? And at that time, these ideas sounded almost impossible. But this paper inspired scientists around the world. People started thinking that computers could do much more than just calculations. This simple idea became the foundation of artificial intelligence research. That is why Alan Turing is remembered as one of the pioneers of AI. Now let's move on. But how do we know if a machine is intelligent? Alan Turing had another interesting idea. He asked, if someone says they have built an intelligent machine, how can we check if it is really intelligent? Think about this. Can we measure intelligence with a ruler? No. Can we open the machine and see intelligence inside? Of course not. So Alan Turing suggested a simple and practical test. This idea later became known as the Turing test. So now let's understand this. How does the Turing test work? Imagine you are sitting in one room. In another room, there are two participants. One is a human and another is a computer. You cannot see either of them. You can communicate only by typing messages. Now you start asking both of them different questions. For example, what is your favorite hobby? Tell me a joke. What did you do yesterday? What is your favorite food? Both the human and the computer reply to your questions. After reading their answers, you have to decide who is the human and who is the computer. Now imagine something interesting. The computer answers so naturally that you cannot confidently tell the difference. You think the computer is actually the human. If that situation, the computer is said to have passed the Turing test. Interesting, right? Now let's move on and let's understand what does the Turing test really mean. Now here is something very important to understand. Many people think that passing the Turing test means a machine can think exactly like a human. That is not what the Turing test says. The Turing test simply checks one idea. Can the machine communicate so naturally that people cannot easily tell whether they are talking to a human or a computer? As simple as that. If the answer is yes, the computer has shown human-like intelligent behavior during the conversation. This was a brilliant idea because it gave scientists a practical way to discuss machine intelligence. Even today, more than 70 years later, the Turing test remains one of the most famous concepts in the history of artificial intelligence. Now let's connect this to today. Now think about your own experience. Have you ever used ChatGPT? Yes, always, right? Sometimes the answers are so natural that it almost feels like you are talking to a real person. Am I right? Does that mean ChatGPT thinks exactly like a human? No, not at all. But it shows why Alan Turing's idea is still so important, right? More than 75 years ago, he imagined a future where humans and machines could have natural conversations. Today, we are living in that future, right? Now, let's discuss one question that inspired the world. Alan Turing's paper did not create intelligent machines overnight. Please remember this. But it did something equally important. It inspired scientists across the world. Researchers started asking new questions. Can computers solve problems instead of simply performing calculations? Can they learn from experience? Can they understand language? Can they make decisions? Slowly, more and more researchers became interested in this exciting new field. But there was one problem. Scientists were working on similar ideas in different places. Some came from mathematics, some from computer science, some from psychology. Everyone shared the same goal. But this new field still did not have an official name. That changed a few years later. In 1956, a historical meeting took place that changed the future of artificial intelligence forever. In 1950, Alan Turing inspired scientists to think differently about computers. Researchers around the world became interested in the idea of building intelligent machines. But there was one problem. Scientists were working in different universities and different countries. Some were studying mathematics, some were writing computer programs, others were studying how humans learn and solve problems. Although they all had the same goal, there was no common field that brought everyone together. That changed in 1956. During the summer of 1956, a group of researchers met at Dartmouth College in United States. This meeting was officially called the Dartmouth Summer Research Project on Artificial Intelligence. It may sound like just another workshop, right? But in reality, it became one of the most important events in the history of artificial intelligence. The question is why, right? Because this was the first time researchers came together with one common goal. They wanted to explore a big question. Can machines be made intelligent? This meeting marked the official beginning of artificial intelligence as a separate field of study. Now, let's move on. Hope you are excited to know more about artificial intelligence, right? Now, let's discuss another very interesting story. John McCarthy, the father of artificial intelligence. One of the main organizers of Dartmouth Conference was a young computer scientist named John McCarthy. He believed this new idea of research needed its own identity. So he introduced a new term, artificial intelligence. This was the first official use of the term artificial intelligence or simply AI. Because John McCarthy coined this term and played a leading role in organizing the Dartmouth Conference, he is widely known as the father of artificial intelligence. Now the students often get confused between Alan Turing and John McCarthy. So remember this simple difference. Alan Turing asked the famous question, can machines think? And laid the foundation of artificial intelligence. And John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence and is known as the father of artificial intelligence. Indeed, both made extraordinary contributions, but their roles were different. Now, let's move towards a new beginning. After the Dartmouth conference, excitement about AI grew very quickly. Scientists believed they were starting a new technological revolution. Universities opened AI research laboratories, governments began funding AI projects, companies also became interested, researchers were full of confidence. Some even predicted that the machines with human level intelligence would be developed within the next 20 years. Imagine hearing that prediction in the 1950s. People truly believed that the intelligent machines were just around the corner. Everything looked very promising, but there was a one problem. The ideas were much more advanced than the technology available at that time. So you may ask, why didn't AI grow quickly? Let's think about it. Today you can unlock your phone using your face. You can ask Google Assistant a question. You can translate languages instantly. You can even chat with AI. But could computers do anything in the 1950s or 1960s? The answer is no. The computers of that time were simply not powerful enough. They had very little memory. They were extremely slow. Storing data was expensive. The most importantly, there was not enough digital data available for computers to learn from. And you can see, today AI systems learn from millions or even billions of examples. Back then, such data simply did not exist. The algorithms were also much less advanced than they are today. Because of these limitations, many AI projects failed to achieve the results people expected. Slowly, disappointment began to grow. Then the AI winter comes as expectations increased, but the results remained limited. Governments and companies started losing confidence in AI. Funding for many AI projects was reduced. Some research laboratories were closed. Many researchers moved to another fields. As a result, progress in AI slowed down significantly. This difficult period became known as the AI winter. But why it is called AI winter? Think about winter in nature. During winter, many plants stop growing, right? Everything becomes quiet, but the plants do not disappear. They simply wait for the better conditions. AI experienced something very similar. Research slowed down. Funding became limited. New discoveries became less frequent. But scientists never completely gave up. Please remember this. They continued experimenting. They continued learning. And they continued believing that one day intelligent machines would become a reality. Now, actually, there were two AI winters, right? In fact, AI means artificial intelligence experienced two major AI winters. The first happened during the 1970s. The second occurred during the late 1980s and early 1990s. Although these periods slowed down the process of artificial intelligence, they also taught the researchers an important lesson. Having a great idea is not enough. You also need the right technology to turn that idea into reality. And fortunately, technology was about to improve drastically. As the years passed, computers became much faster. Memory became cheaper. The internet connected millions and later billions of people. Large amounts of digital data became available. Researchers also developed better AI algorithms. Another important improvement was the use of graphical processing units or GPUs. GPUs made it possible to train AI models much faster than before. For the first time, researchers had everything they needed. Faster computers, more data, better algorithms. Finally, technology had caught up with the ideas. AI was ready for a comeback, and the world was about to witness an event that surprised everyone. Yes, Deep Blue, the computer that made history. In 1997, something extraordinary happened. A computer challenged the world chess champion, Garry Kasparov. At that time, Garry Kasparov was considered one of the greatest chess players in history. Many people believed that no computer could defeat him. After all, chess is a game that requires planning, strategy, and careful thinking. For a long time, people believed these were abilities that only humans possessed. But IBM developed a powerful computer called Deep Blue to take on this challenge. The match attracted attention from people all over the world. Everyone wanted to know the answer to one question. Could a computer defeat the world's best chess player? But the answer surprised everyone. Yes, Deep Blue defeated the world chess champion Garry Kasparov in a 6-game match. And it was the first time a computer defeated a world chess champion in a match played under the standard tournament conditions. This was a historical moment. It showed the world that the computers could outperform humans in certain specialized tasks. Yes, now what can we learn from Deep Blue? Now here is something very important to understand. Many people think Deep Blue was like today's ChatGPT, but that is not true. That is sure that Deep Blue could play chess at an incredible level, but that was the only thing it could do. If you asked it what is artificial intelligence, it could not answer. If you asked it to write an email, it could not. If you showed it a photograph and asked it to identify a cat, it could not. Deep Blue was designed for one specific task, playing chess. That's all. This is an excellent example of narrow AI, which we will study in the next lecture. But please remember this. This is the example of narrow AI. It teaches an important lesson. Early AI systems were built to solve one specific problem. Today's AI systems can perform many different tasks, such as writing, translating, creating images, answering questions, and even generating computer programs. This is one of the biggest difference between early AI and modern AI. Now, let's move towards a new goal. Although Deep Blue was a huge success, researchers wanted something much more powerful. Instead of building machines that could perform only one task, they wanted machines that could learn, machines that could recognize images, understand speech, translate languages, answer questions, and improve as they received more data. Yes, improve as they received more data. But the very big question is, how could a computer learn? To answer that question, researchers turned into a new approach called deep learning. Now let's understand deep learning with a very simple example. Imagine a small child. How does a child learn to recognize a cat? Does someone give the child a long list of rules? A cat has 4 legs, 2 ears, whiskers, and a tail. Not really. Instead, the child simply sees many different cats while growing up, right? Some are black, some are white, some are small, some are large, some have long hair, some have short hair. After seeing many examples, the child's brain naturally learns what a cat looks like. Later, when the child sees a new cat for the first time, the child can recognize it immediately. Deep learning works in a very similar way. Instead of giving a computer thousands of rules, we provide it with many examples. The computer studies the data, finds patterns, and gradually learns on its own. That is the basic idea behind deep learning. Now let's discuss the pioneers of deep learning. You may now wonder who invented deep learning, right? Unlike artificial intelligence, deep learning was not invented by one single person. It developed over many years through the work of several researchers. Among the most important pioneers are Geoffrey Hinton, also known as Godfather of Artificial Intelligence, Yann LeCun, Yoshua Bengio. Their research transformed the field of artificial intelligence. Geoffrey Hinton, a godfather of artificial intelligence, made major contributions to training deep neural networks. Yann LeCun developed techniques that greatly improved image recognition. Yoshua Bengio contributed to methods that helped computers learn more effectively from data. Together, their work laid the foundation for modern deep learning. In recognition of their contributions, they jointly received the 2018 ACM AM Turing Award. one of the highest honors in computer science. Whenever you hear deep learning, remember these three names. They were widely regarded as the pioneers of modern deep learning. Now let's move towards another very important question. Now you may have another question. If researchers had been studying neural networks for many years, why did deep learning become successful only recently? The answer is simple. Three important things came together. First, computers became much more powerful. Second, the internet created large amounts of digital data. Third, researchers developed better algorithms for training AI models. When these three things came together, deep learning finally showed up its true potential. And then came another breakthrough that changed the artificial intelligence world, AlexNet, the turning point. The year was 2012. Geoffrey Hinton and two of his students, Alex Krzyzewski and Ilya Sutskever, developed a deep learning model called AlexNet. AlexNet participated in the ImageNet large-scale visual recognition challenge, one of the world's most important image recognition competitions. The results surprised everyone. AlexNet performed far better than the other computing systems. It recognized images much more accurately than previous AI models. This success proved that deep learning could solve real-world problems. After this breakthrough, interest in AI grew rapidly. Universities expanded AI research. Technological companies invested billions of dollars in artificial intelligence. Researchers began applying deep learning to healthcare, self-driving cars, speech recognition, language translation, robotics, and many other fields. Many experts consider 2012 to be the beginning of the modern AI revolution. Now let's move to the next revolution system, generative AI. Yes, in the previous part we learned how deep learning transformed artificial intelligence. It enabled computers to recognize images, understand speech, translate languages, and solve many complex problems. But researchers wanted to go one step further. They asked another important question. Can AI create something completely new? Can it write a story? Can it compose music? Can it generate an image? Can it write computer programs? And the answer is yes. This new generation of AI is called generative artificial intelligence. Yes, generative AI. Now, let's discuss what is generative AI. Now, the word generate means to create something new, something fresh. So, generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create new content instead of simply analyzing existing data. For example, it can generate text, images, music, videos, computer code, presentations, and much more. Instead of only answering what is in this picture, AI can now create a completely new picture. Instead of only checking grammar, it can write an entire article. Instead of only translating a sentence, it can have a complete conversation. This is what makes generative AI so powerful, right? Let's take some of the examples of generative AI. There are many, right? But here I am giving some of the examples. ChatGPT, which can answer questions, explain concepts, write articles, summarize text, and even help with programming. Google Gemini, which can understand text, images, and other types of information to assist users with different tasks. Microsoft Copilot, which helps users write documents, create presentations, analyze data, and generate code. DALL-E, which creates images from text descriptions. Adobe Firefly, which helps designers to generate and edit creative images. These tools show how quickly AI has become part of our daily lives, right? I'm sure you must be knowing generative AI around us, right? You may not recognize it, but you probably use AI every day. When your email suggests a reply, when your phone automatically edits a photo, when a website recommends a product, when a navigation app finds the fastest route, or when ChatGPT answers your questions, artificial intelligence is working behind the scenes Today, AI is used in many fields, including education, healthcare, banking, agriculture, manufacturing, entertainment, transportation, cybersecurity, and scientific research. And every year, new applications continue to appear. Hope all of you are clear with this, right? Brief history of artificial intelligence. Now that we have reached the end of our story, let's quickly review the major milestones in the history of artificial intelligence. 1950, Alan Turing published Computing Machinery and Intelligence paper and asked the famous question, can machines think? And he also proposed the Turing test. 1956, the Dartmouth Conference took place. John McCarthy introduced the term artificial intelligence, and this meeting is considered the official birth of artificial intelligence as a research field. 1970s and late 1980s to early 1990s, AI experienced the two different periods known as the AI winters, when progress slowed down because computers were not powerful enough and data was limited. Now, 1997. In 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov and showing that computers could outperform humans in specialized tasks. Now, 2012, AlexNet demonstrated the power of deep learning in image recognition and marked the beginning of the modern artificial intelligence revolution. Today, we are living in the era of generative AI, where AI can create text, images, music, videos, and computer programs, right? I'm sure you must have enjoyed the history of artificial intelligence. Before we end this session, let's check your understanding. Question 1. Who asked the famous question, can machines think? The answer is Alan Turing. Second question. Who introduced the term artificial intelligence? Yes, the father of artificial intelligence, John McCarthy. Third question. What is the purpose of Turing test? It checks whether a machine can communicate so naturally that people cannot easily tell whether they are talking to a human or a computer. Now, fourth question. What was Deep Blue famous for? I'm sure you must be remembering this, right? It defeated the world chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. Fifth question. Name the three pioneers of modern deep learning. The answer is Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of artificial intelligence, Yann LeCun, and Yoshua Bengio, right? Now, the final question. What is the main difference between traditional AI and generative AI? Traditional AI mainly analyzes or predicts information, right? While generative AI creates new content such as text, images, music, videos, and computer code. Hope all of you are clear with this, right? I'm sure you must have enjoyed this history. Let's summarize one more time. We learned that the history of artificial intelligence began in 1950 when Alan Turing asked the question, can machines think? And introduced the idea behind the Turing test. In 1956, John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence at the Dartmouth Conference, which officially marked the birth of AI as a research field. Although AI experienced the difficult periods known as the AI winters, researchers continued their work. As computers became faster, more data became available and better algorithms were developed. AI made a strong comeback. In 1997, Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. Computers could excel at specialized tasks. Later breakthroughs in deep learning, especially AlexNet in 2012, started modern AI revolution. Today we are living in the age of generative AI, where AI can not only analyze information but also create text, images, music, videos, and computer programs. The journey that started with one simple question has transformed the way we live, work, learn, and communicate, right? And this journey is still continuing. I hope you enjoyed learning about the fascinating history of artificial intelligence. In our next lecture, we will explore the types of artificial intelligence. We will learn the difference between narrow AI, general AI, and super AI, and discover where today's AI systems like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and other AI tools and self-driving cars fit into these categories. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lecture. Keep watching.